Today we're going to be talking about how the Middle East maritime sector, as well as the French maritime sector and ports development authorities, look to collaborate on people, projects, processes and technology. Joining us on the panel today, we have Maurice Georges, the Chief Executive Officer of the Port of Dunkirk. Good morning and thank you for joining us here today. We have Philippe Guillaumet, the Head of International Relations, Business Development and Intermodal Solutions at the Port of Marseille-Fos, and Matthieu Vis, the Head of International and Strategy at Provence Promotion.
Good morning.
Good morning and thank you for joining us on the show today. Georges, let's start with you. Have we entered a post-COVID era in terms of the restart of competition, and have you begun to witness probably an easing in port traffic?
Good morning. So I'm Maurice Georges. I'm the CEO of Dunkirk Port, and today I'm representing Norlink Association. Norlink is an association of all the transport and logistic experts in the north of France. 3 maritime ports, Dunkirk, Calais. We are providing transport and logistics services for 80 million people in less than 300 kilometers, London, Brussels, Paris. And so we have been suffering like everybody from the COVID restriction in 2020. In 2021, the restriction has been continuing for the tourism, so for the passengers, but for the transport of goods, we have been ramping up very fast. And now we've been recovering. And in addition to that, we've been doing better than recovering in the container segment. Because in Dunkirk, we have enough capacity and a very good level of service. So we have been profiting from the crisis in providing a good service to all the maritime operators. We are the first call on the North Sea for CMA CGM Megamax line from Asia. And from there, we are transshipping to all the region, including, of course, UK.
I like the way you said that, Maurice, we are better than recovering. In that line, Philippe Guillaumet, in your idea, you've spoken to me about connectivity being a focus for the Port of Marseille-Fos. Do you have any data for growth or resilience in terms of connectivity that you could share with us, for not just in terms of connectivity with Europe, but also in the Middle East?
Yeah. You know, the Port of Marseille has a very strategic position in Med, connecting European markets, African markets, Asian markets via the Mediterranean Sea. So it was for us very important to remain open during this very difficult period. So during this period, we try to give the guarantee to keep on working, to keep on opening the terminals, and so we succeed in it. And so that's why we proved our kind of resilience during this period, and we maintain, after a very huge decrease, obviously in 2020, but we maintain the activities, and now we recover as well with a very strong growth, 9% in 21. We overpass our last record for the containerized goods traffic. So we are quite happy with that. And especially we work on the connectivity with the overseas market like Emirates. And along this very tough period, we stay at the same level, 50,000 containers by years with the Emirates, more or less. So we are quite happy with that as well. And I think it's because we succeed in connecting this market via very good inland connection, very reliable connection with train, direct train, etc., to the European markets, and as well with very efficient maritime services. We have 5 maritime services with the Emirates. That's why we succeed in this challenge.
Wonderful. Also, in addition to connectivity, what Philippe was talking about, Matthieu, there is a large focus in the national strategy on the ecological transition as well. Can you talk to us about what opportunities this is creating for the Middle East companies, firms here, businesses here, in terms of tapping into that ecological transition as well, in terms of JVs or PPPs or other such collaborations with businesses here, and especially in a time when there is a need for a similar narrative with companies such as NG and Total and EDF leading the front. Could you talk about some of these opportunities that we are seeing for Middle East companies to collaborate with French firms and the French government as well?
Yes. Thank you for highlighting the industrial ecology and particularly for the industrial sector. It's really our main goal right now. But before I come into that, let me introduce shortly Provence Promotion. So we are the inward investment agency of Marseille-Provence, Marseille being the second city in France. So we support foreign investors willing to expand their business to the south of France. And we do this free of charge and in link with Business France, particularly here in Dubai. Coming back to industrial ecology, maybe I should first introduce our geography. We are part of the Mediterranean area, which is a semi-closed sea, like the Arabian Gulf. And very similarly, we are very much impacted by the climate change. According to the latest IPCC report, the Med Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, will be 20% more affected than other regions in terms of warming. So very similar to the Arabian Gulf. So meaning that there is really urgency to address that, and particularly for the industrial sector that has been at the forefront in terms of decarbonation in France. Let me give you just one example of a company that we are now supporting. This is a green chemistry company. So it's typically the kind of project that we can support. Also the large corporates that you mentioned, like Total Energy, NG, ArcelorMittal. Of course, they have all important industrial sites in Marseille, around the port industrial zone, and they are investing altogether already 2.2 billion euro in terms of decarbonation. So it's really huge and happening very fast there.
Just to add to that, Maurice, I'll come back to you in terms of this ecological transition. We've started to see investments into battery clusters, into hydrogen plant projects, as well as the provision of, for example, electricity to vessels so that we don't have to burn fuels. How important are such ecological and environmental initiatives to the Port of Dunkirk? And could you share some details on some future initiatives that you're planning along these lines?
So very simply, Dunkirk has a long tradition in being energy and industry port. So the ecological transition, the energetic transition is both a challenge and an opportunity. It's a business opportunity. I'll give you an example. 10 years ago, we have been closing 2 major oil refineries. But at the same time, we have been developing a new terminal LNG. And now, in the current crisis, this terminal LNG is a key asset, both from a strategic point of view and from an ecological point of view. Another example, one of the main steel factory in Europe is in Dunkirk, the ArcelorMittal factory. This is a big challenge for this industry to decarbonate itself, and they've been announcing very recently a multi-billion investment in totally changing the process, replacing coal by electricity or by hydrogen. So this is a good opportunity for development. At the same time, as regards energy, we have one of the major and the largest nuclear plant in Western Europe. We are developing a 600 million watt windmill, and with all this low carbon energy, we will be able to feed the new hydrogen energy, to feed the decarbonation, and this is a big opportunity for new jobs, new qualified jobs. As regards the maritime transport, it is the same. We are the first port which has been installing cold ironing for container ship. We have been directly bunkering LNG last year, so we are ready for the ecological transition of maritime transport.
Thank you, and thank you, Maurice. And these sort of initiatives have created a large amount of attractivity to the Port of Dunkirk, but also across France. And Philippe, the next question coming to you in terms of attracting investor interest, attractivity for the Port of Marseille. Can you talk to us about what investment opportunities have been created for the Port of Marseille-Fos as well? And could you share some examples of projects and opportunities that have been created in the recent past and projects and opportunities that you're planning for the near future?
Yeah, to answer, I would say that the Port of Marseille is one of the biggest ports in Med, especially because of the surface. We have 10,000 hectares of total surface. So in this surface, we have developed a very dynamic, world-class industrial logistic clusters. There is many opportunities in different sectors to invest. And now the Port of Marseille is fully engaged in several transitions to attract, especially the invest coming from all around the world. So these transitions are the following. The first one is economic transition, the second one digital transition, and the third one is green transition. For the first one, you want some example, economic transition. We want to develop low carbon logistic solutions. So that's why we have some train direct to the South Germany or Germany to Duisburg. So we develop this kind of solution. Or we have some company train directly from the production center of several companies like Perrier, the water Perrier. For the digital transition, we received huge investment in data centers. And we are developing now a landing station for the data submarine cable. So we are attractive for that. And the last one is green transition. It was mentioned by the CEO of the Port of Dunkirk, but this is the same in the Port of Marseille. We have very strong investment in hydrogen. It's called ironing for capturing, storing the CO2. We are developing offshore wind power program, etc., etc. So you have so many different possibilities and opportunities to invest in the Port of Marseille that it's difficult to make a list non-exhaustive. So this is some example.
Wonderful, and I'm sure that increases attractivity to the Port of Marseille as well. Pivoting from projects to people, one of the concerns that have been brought up, if I could use the word, time and time again, is the lack of proper skilled workers and skilled people within the logistics and port infrastructure industry. Matthieu, this question comes to you. Do you feel that there is a skills gap that needs to be addressed within the logistics and port development sectors? And if there is a skills gap that needs to be addressed, how are French institutions, for example, helping bridge this skills gap so that people from the Middle East and workers from the Middle East can come and make the most of those opportunities in France as well?
Thank you for your question. I'm not an expert into maritime and port activities, so maybe I will answer the question more generally.
Right.
My role is more transversal across all strategic sectors in Provence, including the maritime and the port industry.
Right.
I think that digital transformation and ecological transition are two important business performance factors. So definitely this is what we need to address and what we are right now addressing already. I can give you some examples of projects that are directly investing into this capacity to train people, to educate people, both on the digital side and also the environmental side or decarbonation. First one is CMA CGM, the shipping company that is headquartered in Marseille. They have already an academy where they train their people. They are now expanding the academy. And together with the academy, the state will invest into an institute for maritime decarbonation at the same place. So this new institute will be soon opening in Marseille. So this is the first thing I would like to highlight. The second one is, but maybe I'll let Philippe complement, but the Smart Port, that is an initiative from the Port of Marseille. They have also a brain port community gathering all the academic actors, but I will not comment more. I will let Philippe explain about it. But just one last project, or two more, Odysseo. Odysseo is an important project that is backed directly by President Macron in the framework of the investment plan, the 3 billion euro that the state is investing in the city of Marseille. And Odysseo is dedicated to the environmental transition as well. Okay. And one last project, this one is about digital transformation. It's called La Plateforme, and it will train about 20,000 young people for digital businesses. So all those projects are happening at the same time. There is right now momentum to address both the digital transformation and ecological transition. But maybe, Philippe, if you'd like to complement what I said about smart ports.
Would you like to add to that in terms of smart ports or any special offers that the Port of Marseille is offering in these in terms of digitalization, like you were mentioning? We did speak about high-tech port information systems and the likes. Is the Port of Marseille looking at any collaborations with the Middle East in this regard, and how are you planning to grow in terms of these special offers in the future?
I said we are fully engaged in a triple transition, and so to develop this transition, to be through this transition, we have to bring people with us, and so that's why we need to develop some training program to increase the level of competencies or skills of the workforce or the staff, or etc. So that's why we try with the Port Training Institute of the Port of Marseille and several cooperation to develop some program to, I said, increase the level of the competencies and skills of the people. Like this, we could reach several objectives: performance and preserving planet, thanks to people, 3P. So this is what I can add in this perspective. I have to add just something. The Port of Marseille has created with 20 other ports around the Med Port Association in 2018. And with this association representing 70% of the total traffic operated in Med, we have created some training program all together with all the port training institutes coming from the members of this association. We are fully turned towards the people and toward international different ports. And that's why we are ready to collaborate or to deepen our collaboration with the ports coming from the Emirate and the region of the Gulf. We have, I would say, an international offer coming from the Port of Marseille, and we try to provide a solution to accompany the development of different projects. And I talk about training, but we can talk about port community system, this kind of thing. We have this in the Port of Marseille, and we worked with the private sector, the public sector in a very dynamic and very fruitful partnership. So this kind of solution could be provided to other ports around the world, and especially in this region. So yes, you're right.
Is this also something that the Port of Dunkirk will be looking at? What are your ambitions for logistics and port developments in terms of increasing warehousing space and container terminal capacities? Could you provide a sneak peek possibly of any upcoming tenders that are going to be likely in this space?
First of all, I would say that since yesterday we have been meeting a lot of high-level executives in the maritime world in the Emirates. We have had a very fruitful opportunity to visit facilities in Abu Dhabi, today in Dubai, and I've been impressed by the fact that even considering some differences, we share the same view of diversification of maritime operation. Energy, bulk, general cargo, container. And on top of that, as regards in particular the logistics sectors, We share the same vision about a three-pillar development based on, first of all, the logistic development, green and smart and automated warehouses, providing a real value for the customers everywhere in the world. Secondly, green and the new industrial developments. In France, we are in the north of France, we will have 3 different projects for automotive batteries gigafactories, one of them being Vercors in Dunkirk. So this will be the Valley battery, and this will provide both expertise, new jobs, and the new logistics attached to that. And the third pillar, of course, is green development of maritime and terrestrial transport. In Dunkirk, we are growing highly because we are responsive to actual needs. And if we are growing highly, it is because the demand is there. We have to prepare the next phase. Our value is a high level of quality, no delays, but our facilities will be congested in less than 5 years if we don't do anything. That's why we are planning to double Dunkirk capacity, not for the benefit of only volume, but because the customer needs are there, the customer demand is there for high quality standard, so we want to be responsive. And doubling this container port will be a big infrastructure investment for Dunkirk port. We are discussing public support from the European Commission, from the local and regional and national authorities. But we will also seek to enter a long-term agreement with a best-in-class terminal operator who will provide a best-in-class solution. So we know that in the Emirates we have some best-in-class terminal operators, and this will be in the coming year free call for interest, and everyone might provide solution. It will be very interesting. Thank you.
I think that's the closest I'm going to get of getting a snippet of a tender upcoming open for the Middle East in the years to come. We've spoken at length about digitalization initiatives, about ecological initiatives, and the income of foreign investment into France. And Matthieu Vis, before I conclude, there's just one last question I'd like to offer to you is in terms of FDI, obviously foreign direct investments into France, what opportunities are you offering to attract, in addition to what we've already seen through the years, what additional opportunities, if any, are you planning to attract MENA investors into France? Are we likely to see any new initiatives in 2022 in this regard?
Yes, that's a very important question, and it's the opportunity for me to highlight the partnership that we have with Business France.
Right.
We've been working very closely with them now over the past year, since the beginning of the Expo, even before. We started in March 1 year ago with a partnership also with the French Business Council, where we had a speaking opportunity for the Port of Marseille-Fos. And now we have been continuing with Business France, both with media, press, addressing the press, but also working on specific meetings for the port activity and for industrial decarbonation projects. What will happen in the coming years? So maybe you have heard for sure about the France recovery plan,
right.
France Relance. So it's a 100 billion euro recovery plan. Out of that, 5.6 billion euro goes to decarbonation programs. So that's a unique opportunity. I mentioned earlier this green chemistry project from a GCC
right.
country. And this project is a 30 million euro project in Provence. And they will benefit from a 9 million euro grant, almost 30%. So that's quite a, I think this is really an asset for an investor, foreign investor, that is now coming to France. In addition to that, we have also 6 what they call now the ready-to-use sites or turnkey sites. That's an initiative also from the national state, so from France. There are about 120 ready-to-use sites in France, and we have 6 in Provence. We have some of them into logistics, some others that are industrial zones. So we can definitely provide a simplified process for foreign investors coming from the GCC country, from the Emirates, to invest right now in the south of France.
Thank you once again for joining us on this discussion. It's been a very fruitful and insightful discussion. Before we close, I just want to throw a curveball in there. Is there any message, just a short message to the industry, to the Middle East that you would like to convey before we wrap up this discussion? We'll start with you, Maurice.
Sharing experience is very useful because some diversity, some commonalities, but better that exchange experience, I think, make projects together.
Make projects together. I like that. Philippe, over to you. Is there a short message that you want to share that we can keep on camera with our audience, framed for history before you head back to France?
Thank you to give me this opportunity. My message will be quite close to one of the Port of Dunkirk. I think if we want to win individually, we have to work together. So that's why we want to develop the cooperation with Middle East ports, especially. So please come and interest you to the Port of Marseille.
Wonderful. Thank you. Over to you, Matthieu.
Yes, thank you. Now that we are building this low carbon economy in Provence, I think we share the same goal. We have a very large industrial port zone, the largest in Southern Europe, in Provence. So it's definitely driving innovation. We are getting disruptive technologies that are looking for a test ground. So it's the right momentum for investors in the Middle East that are interested in bringing some new technologies to address this decarbonation issue.
The time is right for collaboration. That's all for now, and until next time, goodbye.